Hey y'all. Hey y'all. So I was just sitting here thinking, reflecting maybe. Not so much on myself, but then it made me kind of go into self reflection a little bit. But I was thinking about a conversation that I had with a friend, and she was just kind of talking about her situation with her significant other and how it's kind of going downhill. And I, listened to her for a little while and I asked a couple questions and tried not to be overpowering or overbearing in their situation. But, one of the questions that I started off asking is, what do you want? Because she was talking about this relationship. She's married. And ultimately, it was all these things that her significant other is not doing for her or is not doing for their family, their situation, whatever it may be. And I say, well, again, what do you want? In a perfect world, what would your relationship look like? Or what is it that you desire from him? And what do you guys desire to be as a unit? And she was just kind of like, at first she was like, I don't know. We talked for probably 30 minutes and then she said, well, I I kind of want this and this. Like I want someone who is going to do this and this. And I said, okay, cause then it went into like generic things, right? And we do this a lot as women. We have these moments where we're like, oh, I want someone to y'all, this some lint or something. Sorry. But we're like, oh, I want someone to love me. And then, I'm like, okay, well, what does love look like? Well, I don't know. I want somebody who's going to cherish me. Okay, so if they're cherishing you, what does that look like? Well, I don't know. I want someone who's going to um, take care of me. Okay, well, what does that look like? I don't know. And these are the questions that number one I ask myself. Um, and this is why I ask, other people who talk to me, what does these things look like? Because we say these generic words because it sounds good and it sounds like everything that we have heard before and been taught. However, we don't know what those things really look like and how they translate over. And so if you're saying, I want someone who loves me, but you don't really know how you want that to be expressed to you, that person may already be showing that they love you based off of what they've been shown or taught. So in my family, for example, when I was younger, my parents never really said, I love you. Like, I didn't really hear those words often at all. I can, if I sit and think, I probably could count it up. And if that's the case, that's the problem, right? It wasn't until I got older and I became an adult that I even really started hearing I love you. I remember one of the times my dad said I love you, and I kind of just looked at him like, you all right? And even for me, like I remember saying it, I remember most recently, probably like in the last 3 years, um, I was like, I don't think I've ever told my brother I love him. And I text him and I was like, I love you. And he was like, what's wrong? What's going on? What's this? And it's just interesting to be in a situation, family, whatever else, where you have some people who say it all the time, and sometimes you feel like you said so much that you take away from it. Because if you love me, it's not so much about what you say, it's how you act, what you do. And of course, for me, if I believe love is an action word, um, then how would that need to be expressed? And of course, they talk about like the five love languages and different things like that. And I realized before it was kind of like acts of service, like help me accomplish. Well, I was kind of even on most of them, I'm not gonna lie, but it was kind of like help me accomplish these things so that we can spend more time together, because the more I'm sitting over here trying to stress or trying to work hard to get these goals accomplished, the less time I have to give to you, less time I have available. Because then quality time was mutual with acts of service. Um, I think at the time gifts was like gifts and affirmation, words of affirmation was the least on my list. Um, and again, when I was growing up, I got gifts. Um, it may not have been when I wanted it or whatever else, but like I never really needed for anything. But I was never over gift. Um, and then like of course I used to see other people in their relationships or like family members would give people gifts because they couldn't really spend time with them. Um, and words of affirmation, like people could tell you whatever. Like people say stuff all day and you don't know if it's true or not. Me and my friend had this conversation the other day, matter of fact, how sometimes you know, guys don't say that they love you, and sometimes you'll be in relationships and or situationships, and you'll be like, I don't know if this man like me or not. Like some days I think he like me, some days I'm not quite sure, and then it's like, well, sometimes I want to hear, I love you, and it's like, but he might say it and still don't mean it. It's all these things that come up because sometimes, and I remember listening to someone else say this too, but this just helped me to understand that it's a consistency across the board. But sometimes guys, like even like with love making or having sex, they can love the sex that they're having and still not love you as a person. So sometimes you'll be in the intimate situation with a person and they can be staring you in your eyes and kissing you and all this other stuff, and then like it's like once it's over, not that they throw you out, they might cuddle with you too, but it's like outside of this circumstance, like I don't know if you still care about me all these other times because I'm looking for um these types of signs. Or for some women, we live in a fairy tale in our head. We've been sold these dreams that this is what love looks like. So you think that this guy's supposed to be the ultimate lover and uber romantic and buying you gifts or giving you money all the time. And it's like there's so many different versions of men and what it is that they um how they show love and how they show up for you, that sometimes you may not have the I was like je ne sais quoi. No, sometimes you may not have the lover that's gonna be, it's all about you. You may have the person who's like, I take care of you, so now you know I love you. Or you may have somebody who throws money at you, so that's how you know I love you. Or somebody who gives you gifts, or somebody who just wants to be talk to you. Like there's so many variations of what love looks like to different people. But ultimately, right, I feel that we a lot of times, ladies, we don't really know what we really want. Like we say we want something because it sounds good, it looks good on paper. And the same thing goes with some men with women. But at the end of the day, when somebody asks you to be very specific in what it is that you want, like very detailed, you can't really say what it is and what that looks like, which is which is part of the reason why you're just receiving what it is that you have. And I can truly say for myself, I've experienced that, right? I've been in those situations. And then as I develop as a person, I say, okay, I want this, and I can be very specific in it. Life shifts, and I receive those things as well. And I think it's just allowing me to have these experiences to get even more specific on what it is I want and I desire from myself and from others. But I really just wanted, sorry y'all, excuse me, that was rude. But I really just wanted to know, to understand, you know what I'm saying? And I really wanted my friend to kind of like pinpoint out some of those things for herself. And that could be in anything. Like you guys, when I was younger, I know I was like 12, probably earlier than that, but definitely at 12, 13. I remember having a list on my wall because my mom used to tell me, the things that you want, like you write these things out and you put it somewhere so that when it happens, well, there's a couple different things. So over the course of years, like I have to give you the full development, but she was like, when it happens, you can notice that it has happened. So for myself, what I used to do and what I really probably need to start back doing is writing it out, put it on the wall. And one of the things it was is write it out And every time after, all you do is say thank you for it as though it has already happened. Um, and I must say it works. I would write it out. I'd be like, I grew up in a Christian household, so it was like, God, this is what I want. This is what I desire. And then it'd be like, thank you, God, for X, Y, and Z. But whether you believe in God, Buddha, the universe, Muhammad, whatever you want to put, that's your business. But the writing it out is always the same. The creation is always the same, right? To be exact and specific in what you want, and then to have gratitude towards it, um, and call those things that are not as though they were, right? So I think there's so many messages in that. And like I said, I think this is something that I'm going to start back doing, is writing more things out and being very clear and specific, and get more detailed as time goes on, because I think I'm in a place of uh transitioning, right? Evolving, growing. And I think this is the best time to do these things, and to have these experiences, so that I know for certain that I'm creating the life that I truly desire, because that is ultimately what I'm here to do, is to create. So just throwing it out there. Somebody else might need to hear it. I definitely needed that as a reminder, because I don't even know initially where I thought I was gonna take this conversation, but it went where it needed to go. But all right, y'all. Like, I'm gonna get back to this schoolwork that I said I was gonna be doing, but I wasn't. Oh well. All right. Peace. Love y'all.